I was thinking, people say this all the time, so now what? I've been doing what I've been doing for, decades. It's what I have to do. Now, when do I get a chance to do what I want to do?
Well, and that's what we do here at Omega Wealth Private Capital. We help you get from the I have to's to, wow, I get to.
I'm Brad Johansson.
And I'm Joe Wilson, and welcome to another edition of Wise Money.
So glad you are back with us on Wise Money. Brad Johansson with Joe Wilson III, Omega Wealth Private Capital.
Buenos nachos,
How many times do I say I love that jacket? I say that a lot with you. You're a good shopper.
I like this jacket.
Yeah, it is a nice jacket.
It's a little green.
You're doing well. We're glad you're with us, and constantly say thank you for being with us on Wise Money. I know it's appointment TV for a bunch of people, and for a lot of you, you're probably going, please don't tell the story about me. We'll probably end up telling stories about you, and it may relate. I want to get into...
We remove the names to protect the guilty.
That's right. I want to talk about kind of where I grew up, where you grew up, and you moved back and forth a little bit.
A little history lane.
I grew up in the Chicago area, Illinois, corn.
Everywhere.
But my parents were from Iowa. You want to talk corn everywhere. It was corn everywhere.
Midwest.
And so you want the best of the best, right? Iowa is pretty good corn. So you have harvest season. And did you grow up in, you had some Texas?
I grew up in Cincy, but Mama's from
Kentucky.
South Texas and Dad's from Southern Kentucky. So, our summers were, I felt like I was a city slicker, suburban Westchester kid. And then on the weekends, we were in Kentucky. And then the summers and winters, I was down pretending to be cowboy with my John Wayne hero grandfather.
So if there's ranch out there, were there crops that you were dealing with in certain times?
We had a ranch, and then Poppy had a farm where he would grow gardens and stuff. We'd have to go out there and work on it. The weather was very different. Every summer we'd go down, or every weekend we'd go down to Kentucky to visit my grandparents. Now that was something else. Sweet corn and tobacco, as he would say, backer and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, backy, and then they had a little garden. Yeah.
So I bring this up because I think I want to talk about harvesting. There are a lot of people who are moving into retirement, and we talk about accumulation and distribution and the difference between advisors and why what we do is different. And I think it's important because many of you have been with an advisor for a long time who have done very well on accumulation. If you haven't done very well in the last 15 years, then there's probably something wrong. But there is something about a distribution plan that is different. And it is talking about, I bring this up with corn and tobacco and
it right, you
soybeans, and whatever it may be,
backer.
That harvests are different.
Yeah,
and it depends on what you're looking for and to when you're harvesting and why you're harvesting.
Yeah, think about this. You've been working 30, 40 years, and you've been putting money away. You've been growing it. You've been cultivating it. And boy, have we had an amazing run of growing season.
No question.
The market has been unbelievable. And so I think we're seeing more and more folks come in off of this show, probably many of you that are watching, and you've seen that grow. The question is, how do you get it from this field of just amazing growth into the harvest to where you can capitalize it for income? I'll never forget my grandfather helping me understand this when we would go down and every morning we'd walk out with him and his dog, and just those are special memories. And this corn, he explained to me harvesting and all right, Grandpa, what do you do with that? How do you make money off of this? Because he didn't go to work like Mom and Dad. It was his farm. That's what he did. And I started learning, we harvest and we take it and we have grain. It's where I learned how to hedge. We talk about hedging in portfolios. I learned the lesson of controlling what you can control from my grandparents. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control the markets, but you can control what your investments and how they react to that. My grandfather would hedge corn. I have corn right here. When he would put this stuff in the ground, bro, it's amazing to me that look how small that stuff is.
Yeah.
And that turns into what that stalk and everything. The challenge is flooding could wipe this out. Drought could wipe this out. A blight could wipe this out. Erosion. They would hedge it. They would look at their downside risk and they would make sure that their crops were hedged because he knew worst case scenario, I could get X and they could survive. It was their only source of income. How many times do we sit down with folks that have been saving and planting 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, some working, and they're retiring, going to harvest. And the issue is there's absolutely zero hedge. Their only hope is if the sun keeps shining and the rain keeps coming. That, my friend, is dangerous. And you have to understand in harvest season, you have to control what you can control. And you can't control some uncontrollables. In finance, you have to understand your hidden risk.
The question is, do you understand a hidden risk? Because we talk about the planning all the time. And for many of you, harvest time is just around the corner.
Maybe you just started it.
Maybe you just began. Maybe you're thinking, do I have enough in the harvest if I do it now? Because timing ends up being everything. I want to put up a number on your screen so that wherever you are in the tri-state, and however this relates to you in a different way of, do I have enough? Because that's the number one fear. Will I have enough money and will it run out before I die? Call the number on your screen, scan the QR code, and the appointment is there. And you say, well, what is that going to cost me? It costs you nothing. We do so much of this complimentary because it's education. And we try to figure out how to illustrate it to you in different ways that, that makes sense to me. If you need a plan for your harvest, call the number on your screen. Let's put a plan together. And why does this matter now for you? Wise Money continues after this.
Remember the game Space Invaders? Little ships falling down the screen and you're moving left and right, trying to fire back, just trying to make sure they don't catch you. You clear one row and here comes another wave and you start to feel the pressure and worrying, oh my goodness, am I going to be able to survive this level of the game? That's exactly how retirement can feel to you if you don't have a plan. What happens when taxes and inflation and economic events and your market volatility hits you in your portfolio? It feels the same way. Many times they just keep coming one after the other. And a lot of times the game is just like retirement. You don't even know where your hidden risks are. One bad move and boom, game over. I talk about this in chapter 2 of this book, understanding where your hidden risk in your current plan could be hiding and jeopardizing your retirement future. You can't defend against what you can't see. And unlike Space Invaders, where you get extra lives in retirement, you get one shot to get this right. Don't wait for the next wave of attacks to hit. Why don't you take a few minutes right now and go to owquiz.com. Get an idea of where you are and start uncovering those hidden risks that could be lurking in your retirement plan. What is the number one fear around those entering retirement and just having retired? What is it?
The number one fear is that you're going to run out of money before you die.
We have a window right now where there's some amazing tools where we can disinherit the IRS from that pot of money. So many times you've been saving and doing things, and that might be the right tool for that season. So when's the best time to prepare for rain? When it's sunny out.
When it's sunny.
You don't wait till it's storming. 2001, 2002, 2020. We go back through here the last couple of decades. There's going to be bad times in the market. Well, where do you go to get your income? Your retirement cannot sustain that. The only way those work out is if you retire and there are several good years right after you walk out of the office. You have to control what you can control, and you cannot control what happens in the markets. You get one shot at retirement, and if you're missing one of these agreements, that can crush you. You cannot go into distribution years with the same tools and hope. That's not a plan.
Glad Glad you're with us. Thanks for joining us on Wise Money. Brad Johansson, Joe Wilson III, Omega Wealth Private Capital. Happy to have you with us. QR code on the side will get you a chance to set up a complimentary retirement readiness review that we try to figure out how to create your harvest, which is your retirement over the next 30 years. You talked about corn. Both of us kind of partial to that because of the upbringing in that. Give me an idea of where we are on maybe, because corn can't do it all the time. Do we have to have crop rotation? I guess if we're adjusting into that point, I want to get to that in a little bit. I want to talk about the seeds, and maybe that's where we went when we went in 1978, 1979, when we went to 401ks. Pensions moved to 401ks because now you're paying on the seed.
Well, think about this. When you were saving back in the late 70s and 80s, tax rates were substantially higher. Substantially higher. Highest marginal bracket was around 70%. People would take a kernel of corn, and when they would invest that to grow it later, they got a tax break on that. The 401k was designed for high-income earners to supplement their pensions. In the 80s, Reagan came in and drastically reduced the tax situation. In fact, the numbers are quite astonishing. Back in the early 1914s to 2024, the average highest marginal tax bracket was in the 60s. Today, we're at 37. So when you realize where we are in this tax landscape, it's very important to understand how that relates to corn and your harvest. I want to give you some numbers, Joe. Ran these recently. We talked about these not too many shows ago. We talked about this, but I've updated some things. The national debt is increasing $69,000 a second.
Last time we talked about it was $59,000 a second.
You're at 4.1 million, almost 4.2 million a minute. Think of that number. How about this? 251 million every hour. And that's 6 billion a day. When you understand that for many of you, your harvest, your lifetime, what you're going to sell and take and live off of, you're going to turn your corn, your investments into income. You got a tax break on that tiny little seed. I don't know if you can zoom in on that. It's so tiny, it might not even show up. You know how many, I had to go look this up. You know how many kernels of corn are in an ear of corn?
I would have absolutely.
It's 600 to 800. So we're going to 700. So one of these.
600 to 800 on
an ear. Okay. And I mean, you got how many years of corn per stalk? I mean, think about this. This right here is 100 of these. Many of you have been saving in a tax-deferred account. And you've taken that money, you've gotten a break on the seed. And Uncle Sam said, hey, don't worry about it. Let it grow. And that seed has grown into this huge stalk that we all talk about. And now you're going to harvest it. And for many of you, you've done zero tax planning. I think that's a problem. When we have national debt cranking at $70,000 almost a second, and the IRS is saying, don't worry about it, let it keep growing. You have RMDs, you don't have to worry about RMDs. Why are advisors not screaming about RMDs? Maybe you're in your 50s, maybe you're in your 60s, and you know what we're hearing all the time? Worry about it later. Why? You are delaying the tax and the tax owed. We are in the third lowest bracket, Joe, right now ever in history. This is the time to do tax planning. Control what you can control. So when you harvest this corn, more of it goes in your pocket and not Uncle Sam's.
Randy, put up wisetaxbill.com.
I get preachy on this.
Well, I want you to put this tax calculator together, explain, because I've got a story for you just on exactly what you said. Why is Wise Tax Bill important?
Because it's not what you have, it's what you get to keep. And this site will allow you to go and put in some numbers. You're going to put them. You're going to put in how long, or how much you feel like you want to have in your tax bracket. What do you want it to be? It'll default to 25%. Okay. It'll be as if you lived to the age of 95, and it's going to show you potential hidden debt that you're sitting on because you have to pay taxes on many of these dollars when you take the money out. And I don't think folks are realizing that little kernel of corn that they planted in the ground in their 401k and IRA, to what kind of tax bill that's coming to. Because what you're seeing, this is 200 of these things right here. We're talking 700 on average for 1 ear of corn. Dear God, we've got a tax nightmare growing right now, and you have it sitting in your portfolios WiseTaxBill.com is going to put light on that.
Well, and while you have that, I was speaking to a friend of mine. Bengals connections all the way back, has grown a phenomenal business. Has an advisor, was asking me about, watch your program all the time. Love the program. But I have an advisor and wanted to know about what he should do tax-wise. Well, what does your advisor say? Never talk to him about it. Why not? I kind of do my business. He does his business. Let it go. Well, tell me that you've talked about Roth conversion at this point, because for you, that's going to be very significant. No, never spoken about it. You may be with somebody and saying, I'm just going to let him do his stuff or her stuff, and I'm going to do my stuff. The problem is you've never checked because there is no plan. Have you figured out what the government wants from you and whether or not you've got a strategy that's going to work to keep more money in your pocket? WiseTaxBill.com will do it. Then you need to make a phone call. Call the number on your screen, whether you're in Indy, whether you're in Dayton, whether or not you're in Kentucky, whether you're in Cincinnati, or maybe you're somewhere else beyond that somebody has already talked to you about. And you need to make a phone call now. It's free to get education and understand what you haven't been talked to about with your advisor.
I want to go to that, and we got to go to break. But Grandpa Joe, that time of era that he lived was rough. He died when he was 82 of cancer. Grandpa Joe had a 6th grade education. He was the oldest boy. Father passed away early, and he had to go to work on the farm to take care of the family. He grew that. They had 7 kids. His family was taken care of. Was self-educated, and there's stories like this all over. If a self-educated 6th grade boy from Kentucky can understand how to hedge his biggest source of income, how to make sure that pestilence and blight didn't hit it and hurt it, what are you doing with your education, with the income you've saved, the money sitting in your retirement accounts? My goodness, you owe it to yourself and your family, your spouse, to go, wow, what if the blight of taxes get worse? What if this becomes such a situation? I promise you this, if you're married and one of you pass away, it will be worse.
Yeah. Because
you're going to go from the married filing jointly into the widow tax. This is a nightmare of epic proportion, and I think it's a blight, it's a drought, it's a flood that so many of you are not looking to. Why? Because no one's talking about it. WiseTaxBill.com. You have to control what you can control.
We'll be right back on Wise Money. So what's my number? The $1 million myth. Next on Wise Money.
You have saved your whole life for retirement, but the question you need to be asking right now is, how much of that will you actually get to keep? If your money's in a traditional IRA or 401k, maybe you're 403b or government worker, 457, you have a partner in every dollar of that money, and that is Uncle Sam. Every time you take money out of those accounts, it's going to be taxable. With tax rates potentially rising in the future, the cost of doing nothing could be significant. A Roth conversion could offer a chance to reduce that future tax exposure. The question you should be asking is, what could your future tax exposure look like, and does it make sense for you to do a Roth conversion? I want you to scan the QR code or visit owrothquiz.com. Take a few minutes to take our Roth conversion quiz. Why don't you find out if a Roth conversion could put you and your family in a better position so you can be and stay retirement ready?
You remember your first move? Could have been 40 years ago when you entered that job that now has taken you to this point where you're thinking about retirement, and you've been accumulating with an advisor who's helped you one step at a time. But the game is different now. This is no longer checkers. This is chess. This is protect the king at all costs. All the income that you have amassed, all the savings that you've worked for. As a famous coach once said, you play to win the game. So if you can now control the middle of the board, the 5 years going into, and then the 5 years into retirement, now you can control the end of the game. But there are different tools. Rather than just accumulation, you now have distribution. Are you using all the tools to protect your income, your asset preservation, and your legacy down the road? At Omega Wealth Private Capital, We understand the game. We understand how important it is. And so we will use every tool at our disposal to help you win the game. After all, it's your money. It's your retirement. You only want to do this once. Don't you want to win? It is a game of chess. Brent Johansson with Joe Wilson III, Wise Money, Omega Wealth Private Capital. I talk about this in seminars, as we all do, that this is a time of adjustment. And many people have planted stuff in their 40s and are going, man, I hope this works till I'm done.
Thank God it worked, right? If it's compounding interest and it works in your favor. But I think it's important to understand that even in farming and in harvesting, there were times when the soil gets depleted. What you planted 20, 30 years ago might not be what's going to carry you for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. There has to be crop rotation. I learned that because I'm like, Grandpa, why is this a tobacco field right now? Why is this soybean right now? It used to be corn. Well, this nutrients, you got to switch it out. What about your retirement? Is everything sitting in growth, growth, growth? And that's been so wonderful right now. And thank God for it. You should still have that in your portfolio. But the issue comes is you might be in a situation where you need to rotate the crops. I've got this back. I'm not going to open this up. This is soybeans, man.
Okay.
Look at the size of that thing.
Okay.
Soybeans are a huge part of farming. You might need to shift from planting corn for the next 10 years, 5 years, to maybe putting some soybeans in there to rotate out. How does that work when it comes to retirement? If you're all growth, where's your income? If you're all income, where's your growth? If you're sitting in cash and interest rates are lowering, maybe you need to take some of that cash and leave it there, but maybe you need to plant some of this in corn. Maybe you need to plant some of this in soy. You have to understand crop rotation when it comes to retirement planning, and the same as with your investments. If you're not, you are gambling and hoping that the sun still shines, Blythe doesn't hit, floods don't hit, drought doesn't hit.
Are you working on crop rotation financially to try and figure this out? If you're not, then you don't have a plan and you're sitting and hoping that crop
That is
works
not a plan, bro.
It is not a plan. Let's put together a plan for you. You're watching Wise Money. Back after this.
I remember on Friday nights growing up, our friends, we would go to the arcade playing the amazing Pac-Man game. The question for you, the modern retiree, are you just out there chasing dots and hoping to get as many as you can before the dreaded ghost catch you? Pac-Man is a fun game, but in retirement, that approach can absolutely eat you alive. A lot of people just head into retirement thinking, if I can keep moving and just dodging this bullet, I'm going to be fine. But what about those big risks that sneak up on you like those ghosts? Taxes, market crashes, healthcare crisis. One wrong turn and chomp. They can take a massive bite out of what you've spent decades building. That's why every retirement needs an asset preservation plan. What happens if the market goes through at 2000, 2001, 2002? What happens if there is a healthcare crisis that affects you? Maybe even some of the worst times possible in retirement. You get one shot at retirement. Stop chasing dots. Stop hoping that these ghosts just won't catch you. Let's see if your plan is ready to protect you. It's only going to take 3 minutes. I want you to go to owquiz.com and you're going to find out real quickly where you stand in this whole game so you can be and stay retirement ready.
Don't have a lot of time, so I want to put up the 5 agreements to be and stay retirement ready. You want the book? We're talking about the education. Let's help you get educated. We'll send you the book for free. As we put this up on the screen, you scan the QR code. We'll send it out to you for free. Income, investments, asset preservation, taxes, and then we get to legacy. So I want you to close on legacy because we're talking about crop rotation, hedging, trying to figure it out, and then leaving it the way we want it to be. Give me an analogy on the legacy.
Yeah,
and why,
I will tell you, Papi Odom down in South Texas, the rancher, and then Grandpa Joe, Joseph R. Wilson. They were loyal to their family, but they took farming and their crops and their land personally. They felt it was, I don't think fiduciary was the word that they used, but they felt it was their duty to leave the land better than when they got there. And that's what we see wise farmers do. That's what we see wise investors do. Wise farmers will leave the land better than when they got it. Just like a wise retiree will leave the portfolio to the next generation better. We see these mistakes constantly. We did an amazing, great group of people we met with at Indiana Wesleyan University. We're getting ready to have more here right after the holidays, beginning of the year, on legacy planning and estate planning. If your goal is to bless the next generation, and I think many of you that come in here have that Midwest value, and whether you want to spend it all, that's your choice. But if you want to leave money to the next generation, there's a right way to do it, and there is a wrong way to do it. And I will tell you, if your idea from your advisor or your plan is, well, I'm just going to leave them an inherited IRA, listen to me, it is the worst way to give money to the next generation. There are so many other options that you should be taking advantage of. Why? It's how we started this show. It's not what you have, it's what you get to keep. The tax implications of IRAs can be absolutely devastating to the next generation. And all you have to do is a little bit of tweak here and a little bit of tweak there. It is not just set it and forget it. You have to be a wise steward of your retirement, just like a farmer can be a wise steward of the land.
And that's the question. Are you leaving your land better than when you got it? And are you taking care to preserve what you have? Have you hedged well enough? Have you worked the crop rotation? Is this going to be what you want to leave? This is your legacy. If you want the book, we'll send it out to you. Scan the QR code. I know you probably have a final thought just to let people go to say, I know this seems daunting, but this is kind of why we're here.
That's what we do every day.
Continental divide. It's a change for you.
Yeah. The landscaping is changing because we're seeing more of you getting to that retirement and that retirement living. Listen, you've worked a long time for this corn. How you live off this and how you gift this to the next generation, I hate to say this to you, but it's on you. You can't just adopt the idea that, well, this is how I did it in the 40s. I'm going to be okay in my 70s. The landscape changes. Are you positioned to weather the storms, a medical storm, a tax storm? You get one shot at retirement. Today's the day to act. Thank you for watching. Can't wait to see you next week on Wise Money.
From tax time bombs to Social Security insecurities, strategic investments that help clean up your junk drawer and keep your income engine running smoothly at Omega Wealth Private Capital. We're fiduciary, independent, holistic wealth advisors, and we're here to turn your have-tos into get-tos. So, would you like your retirement dreams to move from good to great? Give us a call. It's what we do because we really want to. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope to see you in the office. Until then, I'm Brad Johansson. We'll see you next time on Wise Money.